If your goal is to have a functional, durable, and Instagram-worthy fire pit for your backyard oasis, then this is the last video you'll need to watch. In this video, I'll cover the two leading smokeless stainless steel fire pit options that are sure to impress you and your guests. With me, I have Breeo's 19-inch model and Solo Stove's largest model, the Yukon. One thing I want to quickly point out is this Solo Stove will be out of production by the time this video is posted. Solo Stove is replacing the 30-inch Yukon with a slightly smaller 27-inch Yukon, all other features remaining the same. Links to each fire pit and tables breaking down all of the features mentioned in this video are linked in the description and available on yardiac.com. So what is a smokeless fire pit and how does it work? If you've never seen one of these in person before, they really are smokeless. At least compared to a traditional fire pit, and as long as you're using them correctly. These fire pits bring in cool air from their base, heat the air up as it travels inside the outer wall, and then uses that heated air to create a secondary burn that eliminates any smoke. It's actually not all that complicated, and the diagrams I pulled from their websites help to explain it a little bit better. While the secondary burn is a really cool and practical effect, it's not 100% necessary for the fire pit to be smokeless. Smoke is essentially a mixture of carbon particles that were not fully burned. In other words, a fire produces smoke when the burn is not efficient. That's what these two fire pits solve. By bringing in air through the bottom, in addition to the surrounding air, the fire can reach a higher temperature and burn more efficiently, thus reducing smoke. You'll want to follow a few other tips for getting clean burn that I've linked to in another article. Generally speaking, using a well-seasoned hardwood, avoiding softwoods, and keeping the fire pit clean are the things that are going to have the greatest impact. Comparing the Solo Stove and Breeo side by side, it's tough to say whether one design is better than the other in terms of burn efficiency. I've used both for at least a dozen separate fires, and I can't discern any noticeable difference between the two. Cleaning each is a little bit different. The Solo Stove has an ash pan built in under what I'm calling the burn grate and what you're actually setting the wood on. In order to clean this out, you need to tip the Solo Stove upside down or on its sides to clean out any leftover ashes. With the Breeo, I find the ashes are a bit easier to clean out since you can use a shop vac or just dump it upside down. I prefer using a shop vac so I don't end up scratching the surface. Also, you might find yourself going through shop vac filters a lot and may want to consider a dust stopper, which is the attachment I have on top of this Home Depot bucket. I use it for cleaning up woodworking sawdust, and it works nicely to keep the ash out of the shop vac. Let's look at portability. Obviously, this will vary depending on the size you get, but here's my 2 cents. You don't want to move the Yukon, this one or the new 27-inch. It's big, it's awkward, and will be next to impossible to move when it's 800 degrees. There's no good way to lift this one, and any of the smaller ones like the Bonfire, they're medium-sized model. At least with the Breeo, there's a lift you can lift it by when it's cool. Otherwise, you can probably rig up some 2x4s like I have here to move it when it's hot, but that's not recommended. Here are the weights of the models offered by each. It's not impossible to move by yourself, but you'll definitely want a helping hand. Do not move the fire pit while it's still hot or in use. I feel like that should go without saying, but there it is. With the Breeo, the stand is built in, so you don't have to worry about carrying around another component. And speaking of the stand, that moves us into the next comparison. As mentioned, the Breeo stand is built in via the welded legs, which is great. You want that. The Solo Stove sells theirs separately and is not connected to the rest of the fire pit. Not that big of a deal if your fire pit will be stationary for most of its life. However, if you plan on taking it on the go, the Breeo is the better decision in my opinion. Think camping, tailgates. If you're like me, you enjoy roasting marshmallows and having s'mores by the fire. But what's better than s'mores? That's right, steaks. And the Breeo has a better grilling system than Solo Stove. It's simply a post that locks into the body of the fire pit, where the grate can be adjusted by tightening a screw to the desired height. Solo Stove has this wonky tripod type system that I could already tell was going to be more trouble than it would be worth, so I actually didn't end up ever purchasing it. The best part about the Breeo system is you can use just the Outpost system with you if you're grilling over an open fire. Or you can even use it with other fire pits by staking it in the ground and adjusting the grate to the appropriate height. Finally, when all the s'mores have been eaten, the fire is dying down, and the moon is high in the sky, which is easier to clean up? Here's the main downside to stainless steel fire pits. You don't want to dump water on them to extinguish the fire, as it'll prematurely wear the steel. See thermal expansion in your textbook, page 327, alongside with the rust. Instead, you need a way to cover the top so sparks can't jump and embers can't blow anywhere. Unfortunately, Solo Stove does not have any option available. In the Solo Stove Facebook group, there's all sorts of unique ways to overcome this, with everything from custom fabricated lids, which one member actually sells, to Weber grill or trash can lids. Breeo offers a matching stainless steel lid that runs about 80 to 100 bucks depending on the size. I have one here, and it's a pretty heavy duty lid and would be difficult to remove by an animal or the wind. It probably weighs about 15 or 20 pounds. The Breeo is manufactured here in the United States, Pennsylvania to be exact, and the Solo Stove is made in China. The build qualities are similar, but my belief is the Breeo will outlast the Solo Stove, rust and corrosion aside. If you take a look where the logs burn and sit, you'll notice with the Breeo they're sitting on this square steel tubing in an X shape. On the Solo Stove, the wood sits on a perforated grate that sits in a sort of dome shape. While I haven't had a problem with the Solo Stove, my belief is in a 20-year race, the Breeo will outpace the Solo Stove because there's greater structural integrity. Not to mention, Solo Stove actually went through a redesign with this format several years ago because the perforated grate was failing. So now you know what the main features of these are. What else should you be taking into consideration? Here's a couple questions you should consider along with all the other information we just covered. Do you have kids? No, I don't. Do you plan on building a surround for these? Do you plan on cooking over the fire? Like more than s'mores and hot dogs. Think steaks, salmon, eggs, and a cast iron. Do you plan on taking this to tailgates? Where are you placing this? On what? And is it under a covered area? What do you want the fire to look like, and how much wood do you have? For viewers with children, you need to remember these fire pits get hot. Like seriously, they get up and above 800 degrees Fahrenheit pretty easily, at least based on some of the data I've collected with a thermocouple. To help make these safer, some members in both the Breeo and Solo Stove Facebook groups have built surrounds out of stone, wood, and other materials to keep everyone's hands and feet at a safe distance. Breeo actually makes smokeless fire pit inserts and other models that are specifically meant to have a stone surround. Some of these even have a sear plate built into the top so you can grill even more food directly on the metal. Don't forget, you'll need to purchase wood too. I have a guide, linked in the description, that will teach you how to get the most bang for your buck with firewood. Generally speaking, you can get a face cord of white oak just about anywhere in the US, seasoned and ready to burn for about 100 to 120 bucks. A face cord will last most families about a season depending on use. If you've been buying wood from the gas station or your local home goods store, just stop. You're overpaying significantly for what you get, and you'll be burning a hole in your pocket if you continue to do so after purchasing one of these fire pits. If you want a roaring fire, you will need to constantly be feeding these fire pits wood. Since the burn is more efficient, they go through wood much faster than regular fire pit. In terms of performance, this is great. It's a better looking fire. Generally speaking, a warmer fire, and with enough wood, the secondary burn is pretty fun to watch. Lastly, let's go over a few tips for buying either the Solo Stove or Breeo. For one, budget for some accessories. I recommend getting at least a cover and a metal bucket. The cover for obvious reasons, and the metal bucket can be used to keep water on hand for safety reasons. Additionally, at the end of the night, if there are still large embers in the fire pit, you can always shovel them into the bucket to help the fire die down faster. If you plan on placing this on a deck or treated concrete, you need to place something in between the fire pit and surface to diffuse the heat. A couple concrete pavers from Lowe's or Home Depot will work fine, otherwise you can buy a special heat reflecting shield to lay out. The reason for this is the area underneath the fire pit gets hot, around 200 to 300 degrees based on my data. This can damage your deck or the finishing on your concrete. Other items already touched on, like Breeo's Outpost grill system, roasting sticks for marshmallows and hot dogs, maybe some nicer lawn chairs, tiki torches, and all those other little comforts that make it a more relaxing experience. The bottom line is this: you can't really go wrong with either. The customer service on both ends has been phenomenal, and I've enjoyed using both of them. If you want to do some grilling, I think Breeo has a better system for doing so, but that doesn't mean you can't use Breeo's system with the solo stove. And if you want to do some heavy duty grilling, Breeo's Zentro Line is the way to go. Be sure to budget for some accessories, and to help you, the viewer, out, I've linked compatible and significantly cheaper accessories in the description for each. Be sure to join the Facebook groups for each to get ideas, inspiration, and more tips for making the experience even easier. And lastly, if you found this video helpful, please be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for future videos. Thanks for watching, and until next time, I'll see you later. The best part about the Breeo system is you can use the Outpost system with you if you're grilling. Whoop, that didn't make much sense. My belief is that that's so hard to say. Other items already touched on, like Breeo's Outpost grill system, roasting sticks. There's not an SH there. So what is a smokeless fire pit and how does it work? If you've never seen one of these in person before, they really are smokeless, at least compared to the fire can reach a higher temperature and burn more efficiently. The solo stove sells theirs separately. The solo stove does what?